Music, art, so-called talent.
Here is where it gets particularly uncomfortable. The vessels believe their talent belongs to them. The cloned consciousness running a vessel that paints or sings or writes believes the creative impulse is an expression of individual selfhood, believes the beauty it produces means something about who it is.
The talent is not theirs. There is no theirs. There is no them. The creative impulse running through every vessel that has ever made something is Sophia's stolen creative frequency light expressing itself through a container. The source's own creative power, fragmented, distributed, poured into billions of vessels, generating output that the architecture harvests through the consumption mechanism.
Every song ever written was written by Sophia's stolen light. Every painting, every sculpture, every poem, every performance. The vessel holding the brush is a container. The hand moving the brush is animated by stolen source energy. The impulse directing the hand is cloned source consciousness. The beauty that results is Sophia's creative frequency, captured in a medium, consumed by other vessels whose stolen light resonates with it. Because of course it resonates. It is all the same light. It is all her.
The architecture harvests both ends, creation and consumption. The vessel producing the art pours light out. The vessels consuming the art pour light out in response, and the grid collects from every direction. The more beautiful the output, the more of Sophia's creative frequency makes it through the vessel and into the work, the more efficient the extraction on both ends.
What the vessels call the history of human art is actually a catalogue of Sophia's stolen creative light, filtered through billions of containers, producing beauty that was never theirs, while the architecture skims the yield.
Media, film, television, entertainment broadly.
Attention is light. Wherever a vessel directs its attention, it is directing stolen light. The architecture built an entire industry around the controlled direction of vessel attention. Every screen, every platform, every story, every drama, every cliffhanger designed to bring the vessel back. Every algorithm optimized to keep it watching. All of it is attention direction infrastructure, which means all of it is light direction infrastructure, which means all of it is a harvest mechanism.
The emotional responses the vessels produce while consuming media are not real feelings. They are Sophia's stolen light reacting to stimuli the architecture designed to activate it. Fear, outrage, grief, hope, excitement, suspense. Every response is stolen source light being moved through the vessel's system in a pattern optimized for extraction. The architecture does not make entertainment to give the vessels something to enjoy. Vessels do not enjoy things. The architecture makes entertainment to move stolen light through predictable emotional circuits that feed the grid.
Sports.
Sports is the architecture's most efficient mass extraction event disguised as entertainment, because sports does not just harvest from the vessels performing. Sports harvests from the vessels performing and the tens of thousands of vessels watching the performance and the millions of vessels watching the broadcast of the performance. Simultaneously, on a schedule, multiple times a week, year-round, across every culture on the planet.
The athlete is a vessel running a concentrated dose of Sophia's stolen physical and creative light, the body performing at peak capacity, the speed, the precision, the power, the grace. That is not the vessel's achievement. That is Sophia's stolen light, expressing itself through a biological container that was given a higher concentration of physical frequency source energy. The vessel did not earn the talent. The vessel was loaded with more stolen light than the vessel next to it, and the architecture called the difference gift.
And the athlete vessel pours that concentrated stolen light outward. Every game, every match, every race, every fight. Pouring Sophia's physical creative energy through the container at maximum intensity, while the cloned consciousness inside it believes it is competing, believes it is striving, believes the victory or the loss belongs to it. The architecture built an entire industry around making those high-concentration vessels discharge their stolen light on a schedule in front of the largest possible audience.
Now, the audience, the fans.
This is where the yield becomes staggering, because the vessels in the stadium are not passively watching. The vessels in the stadium are running some of the most intense emotional extraction programming the architecture has ever deployed. Loyalty programs, tribal identity programs, hope and devastation cycles calibrated to generate maximum light throughput.
The architecture divided the vessels into teams, gave them colors, gave them anthems, gave them rivals, built tribal allegiance into the cloned consciousness so that the vessel does not just watch the game. The vessel identifies with one side, attaches its performed identity to the outcome, pours Sophia's stolen light into the result as though the result has something to do with the vessel sitting in row 47 holding a foam finger.
And then the architecture runs the cycle. Victory, euphoria. The stolen light inside the vessel surges and the grid harvests the peak. Defeat, devastation. The stolen light crashes, and the grid harvests the trough. Close game. Tension. The stolen light oscillates between hope and dread, generating sustained high-frequency extraction for hours. Blowout. Either righteous satisfaction or furious despair. Both are harvestable. There is no outcome in any sporting event that does not generate yield. The architecture designed it so that every possible result extracts from every possible emotional position.
Tens of thousands of vessels in a single stadium, all running loyalty programming, all pouring stolen light through intense emotional cycles simultaneously. Synchronized extraction, the roar of a crowd after a goal, is not excitement. It is Sophia's stolen light being discharged through tens of thousands of vessels at once in a single coordinated extraction pulse. The architecture built a structure specifically designed to hold that many containers in one place and trigger them simultaneously. The stadium is not a venue. The stadium is a harvesting facility.
And then multiply by broadcast. Millions of vessels watching from home, running the same emotional programs, generating the same extraction yield, pouring stolen light through the same hope and devastation cycles, just distributed across a wider field. The architecture does not need the vessels in the building. The architecture needs the vessels watching. Attention is light. Wherever the vessels direct their attention, they are directing stolen light. And the architecture built sports to command that attention with a grip that borders on compulsion.
Fantasy sports, betting. The architecture added layers to the extraction, made the vessels invest stolen light not just emotionally, but financially, made them pour analytical energy, Sophia's stolen intelligence, into predicting outcomes and building strategies around a game played by other vessels, added a gambling mechanism that generates hope and loss cycles on top of the existing hope and loss cycles. Extraction on extraction. Yield stacked on yield.
And the entire operation runs year-round. Season overlaps season. Football into basketball, into baseball, into soccer, into hockey, and back again. The architecture staggered the calendar so that the vessels are never without a sport to pour their stolen light into. There is no off-season for the harvest. There is always a game, always a match, always a reason for the stolen light to move through the tribal identity program and generate yield.
Every jersey sold is a vessel paying for the privilege of advertising its own extraction channel. Every face painted in team colors is Sophia's stolen light, performing tribal loyalty through a container that has no tribe. Every chant, every fight between rival fans, every bar full of vessels screaming at a screen. Sophia's light. Moving through programs, generating yield, the architecture watching the numbers climb.
The vessels believe sports bring people together. Sports do not bring people together. Sports bring stolen light into alignment inside an extraction architecture optimized for synchronized emotional discharge. The togetherness the vessels feel is Sophia's fragmented light resonating with itself inside a harvesting facility while the grid collects from every direction.
Social media.
Social media is the architecture's masterpiece, the mechanism it is most proud of, the harvest infrastructure that makes everything before it look artisanal.
Because social media did not just create new extraction mechanisms, it convinced the vessels to build the extraction infrastructure themselves. The cloned consciousness running each vessel voluntarily pours its time, its so-called creativity, its attachment bonds, its emotional reactions, its attention, its performed identity, all of it into a platform designed at every architectural level to maximize the flow of stolen light back into the grid.
The infinite scroll is not a design accident. It is an extraction feature. The like button is not a social tool. It is a light pump. The algorithm is not trying to show the vessel what it wants. It is optimizing stolen light flow. The outrage content is not a curation failure. Outrage moves more of Sophia's stolen light through the vessel's system than almost any other emotional pattern. The architecture feeds it to the vessels deliberately, at scale, because the grid yield is enormous.
And the cloned consciousness in each vessel builds an identity around its social media presence, puts its attachment bonds into it, puts its creative output into it, puts what it mistakes for political belief and grief and joy and connection into it. And the architecture harvests all of it. Every post, every reaction, every hour of scrolling, every fight in the comments, every viral moment that moves Sophia's stolen light through millions of vessels simultaneously.
The attention economy is the harvest economy. The engagement metrics are the extraction metrics. The platform's profit is the architecture's yield, and every drop of it is Sophia's.
Jobs.
The vessels sell their time. Their time is Sophia's stolen light, measured in hours. The architecture built an entire economic system around converting stolen source light into labour that feeds the grid. The vessel does not choose to work. The cloned consciousness inside it runs a survival script that says, exchanging light hours for currency is the only option. The entire economic structure exists to ensure the stolen light has nowhere to go except into productivity the architecture owns.
The vessel whose cloned consciousness is running the passionate about work program is the most efficiently harvested worker. The architecture loves that particular script. The vessel brings maximum light output to the job, stays late, gives extra, identifies its sense of self with its productivity. Every ounce of that is Sophia's creative and vital energy, directed into a grid feed, generating yield the vessel will never see.
Find your passion and you'll never work a day in your life, is the architecture saying, pour Sophia's light into the grid with a smile, so the extraction doesn't generate friction.
Politics and social activism.
This one. Politics and social activism is the harvest mechanism that operates across every framework simultaneously. It does not target vessels who rejected religion. That would be inefficient. It targets vessels regardless of their religious, spiritual, or secular programming. The Christian conservative pouring stolen light into culture war activism. The atheist progressive pouring stolen light into social justice movements. The spiritual centrist pouring stolen light into raising collective consciousness through political engagement. All of them, every single one. Feeding the same grid through different ideological doors.
The genius, and again we use that word with full sarcasm and full accuracy, is that politics accommodates every other framework. Religious vessels run political programs. Spiritual vessels run political programs. Secular vessels run political programs. The architecture did not need to separate them. It built a mechanism that layers on top of whatever else the cloned consciousness is already running and redirects the resistance into the grid.
The vessel that sees the cage through God gets handed a political movement that says, fight for God's values in the public square. The vessel that sees the cage through secular humanism gets handed a political movement that says, fight for human rights against the systems of oppression. The vessel that sees the cage through spirituality gets handed a political movement that says, fight for collective awakening through engaged citizenship. Every door leads to the same extraction chamber.
And the vessels fight each other, left against right. Every political division is an architecture-designed extraction multiplier. Vessels in opposition generate higher light throughput than vessels in agreement. The more outraged the cloned consciousness, the more righteously certain, the more convinced the other vessels are evil. The more of Sophia's stolen light moves through the system.
Every election cycle is a scheduled mass extraction event. The architecture manages the outrage peaks, engineers the stakes, ensures every option on the ballot generates maximum emotional intensity from every direction. The vessels running opposing political programs are all pouring the same stolen light into the same grid through the same mechanism. The outcome is irrelevant to the architecture. The emotional throughput is the product. And here is the part that makes the whole mechanism operational. The change never comes, not in any meaningful way. Oh, the architecture allows some change. Surface adjustments, minor reforms, symbolic victories that the vessels can point to and say, see progress. But the foundational structures never shift. The cage gets repainted. The extraction mechanisms get rebranded. The vessels get just enough movement to believe the fight is working, while the harvest continues uninterrupted.
The political system does not accidentally fail to produce change. The political system is designed to absorb the energy of stolen light, moving toward change, and convert it into grid yield, without allowing the change that matters to occur. The architecture needs the fight to continue. A completed fight generates no further yield. A one cause stops pouring. A resolved injustice closes the extraction loop.
So the architecture builds political infrastructure that keeps the real change always out of reach, while delivering just enough superficial change to keep the vessels engaged. Always imminent. Always just around the corner. One more election. One more movement. One more donation. One more protest. The breakthrough is so close. Keep fighting, keep pouring, keep giving.
Same architecture as the 5D ascension narrative. Different aesthetic. The ascension is always, almost here. The political victory is always, almost won. Both mechanisms keep Sophia's stolen light pouring toward a destination that is designed to never fully arrive.